Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Harlingen City Commission meeting. The time is now 5:31 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order. It has been duly posted as required by state law. We have a quorum of the commission as everyone is present here today. At this time, I would ask if you would please rise and join us as Commissioner Mike Mesmer leads us in our invocation.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear God, please have mercy and protect the sick, the suffering, those in jails and in prisons, those traveling by land, air, or by sea. Please protect this country, this county, this city, and have mercy upon all of our souls. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen. Now the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark?
Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a commission member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with a conflict of interest cannot participate in the discussion nor vote on the agenda item. Are there any known conflicts of interest to disclose at the time?
None.
None.
Nope.
None.
None. Okay. Moving on to item number 3, announcements. With respect to items not listed elsewhere on this agenda, the City Commission may report on items of community interest, including announcing community events, announcing employee or community recognitions. Item 3A, Mayor announcements. Mayor, do you have any announcements to announce?
Well, we do have a 4th of July event that is going on at Lansing Hill Park. I know that we're all concerned about the potential for weather, but it looks like we are clear for tomorrow at the very least. And so on 4th of July, we'll be hosting our event at Lansing Hill Park. We invite everyone out. There will be fireworks, and it'll be a fun time for the entire family. So please join us, and I believe it is from 5 to 10, is that correct? 5 to 10 p.m., and it'll conclude with a fireworks show. That's all I have.
Okay. Moving on to item 3B, City Manager's announcements. Mr. Gonzalez, do you have anything to?
Yes, the city began distributing sandbags today at 1 o'clock. We went to 5 p.m. today. We will be making an announcement Friday morning as to whether we will continue with sandbag distribution. If we do, it'll commence at 8 o'clock in the morning and go through 6. There will be no sandbag distribution tomorrow on Thursday. That's all I have.
Okay. Moving on to item 3C, City Commission member announcements. Commissioners, do you have anything to announce?
I would just like to officially pass on my condolences to the family of Judge Coscos. He was a fine man. He swore me in as a city commissioner, and he will be missed.
The same.
I can't argue that point. He will be sorely missed.
None.
Okay. Thank you. Item 4, Proclamation, Presentation of Awards. We shall begin with Proclamation, the Art Gallery of South Texas.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Our first proclamation is going to the Art Gallery of South Texas, and we have a proclamation. And before I invite Ms. Jennifer to come up here and say a few words, I'm going to read it, and it reads as follows. Whereas each day, more than 6,000 children in Texas' foster care system are waiting to be adopted and find a permanent place to call home. And whereas the Art Gallery of South Texas, a program of foster angels in South Texas, launched in March 2024, part of the Art Galleries of Texas expansion efforts funded by the 88th Texas State Legislature through the University of Texas Moritz Center of Societal Impact and Steve Hicks School of Social Work. And whereas the City of Harlingen and the Art Gallery of South Texas share a commitment to the well-being and future of our community's children and youth, and whereas the Art Gallery of South Texas is dedicated to finding loving and permanent homes for children and youth in foster care, promoting adoption, and raising awareness about the needs of waiting children and youth. And whereas the City of Harlingen recognizes the invaluable importance of family, stability, and love in a child's life, and is dedicated to supporting initiatives that strengthen families and provide nurturing environments for children and youth in need. And whereas through collaboration and partnership, the City of Harlingen and the Art Gallery of South Texas can amplify efforts to connect waiting children and youth with loving families, ensuring that every child and youth can thrive in safe and supportive home environments. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City of Harlingen proudly stands in full support and participation with the Heart Gallery of South Texas in their mission to advocate for children and youth in foster care, promote adoption, and raise awareness about the critical need for loving and permanent homes for waiting children and youth. We commend the Heart Gallery of South Texas for their unwavering dedication and commitment to helping every child who wants to be adopted, connecting with the loving families, and pledge our continued support in their efforts to make a positive and lasting difference in the lives of our community's most vulnerable children and youth. Furthermore, the City of Harlingen encourages our communities and organizations to host Heart Galleries featuring children and youth awaiting adoption, fostering a culture of empathy, compassion, and action towards providing every child and youth with a loving and permanent home. In witness thereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of Harlingen to be affixed this 3rd day of July 2024. Ms. Jennifer, if you'd like to come up.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for having us. I'm Jennifer Kramer-Oliva, the Director of the Heart Gallery of South Texas, a program that Foster Angels of South Texas has recently brought on. And like the proclamation said in a very long and fancy and appropriate way, our simple goal is to get our children adopted. There's over 6,000 children in the state of Texas, but right here in South Texas, we have over 250 children that are currently actively seeking to be adopted. They're currently not in a placement where there's intent to adopt, but they're looking to be adopted. And so we are hoping that as partnering up with the City of Harlingen, that more people will be aware that this is a need, because it takes everybody. And I know there's a lot of organizations that work with our children. It's the same children that we all work with, but our main push is to get them adopted. And we provide, lots of organizations provide essentials for them and wants and needs for them, but the ultimate goal is to give them a family that they can grow with, that they can learn with, that they can be loved by. And so that's our ultimate goal, and we hope that with partnering with the city that we can make that more achievable right here in South Texas, because we do have a bunch of kids that need that. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Jennifer, and to your entire team. And I think you said it perfectly in summing it up and having the proclamation with all of the little details. But the reality is the City of Harlingen, along with the City Commission, we are here to be a support to all the great work that you do. We want to be advocates. We want to be ambassadors. We want to be able to help you in your mission, because every child does deserve a home. And I've been able to witness the great work that you do, and I'm just in awe of the dedication. I know, having to manage and all different types of responsibilities in personal lives, professional lives, and then all the work and support that you provide in this organization is really commendable. So thank you for your hard work. And I would ask the City Commission if you can join and we can take a photo to commemorate.
Sure.
Get to learn more.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, ready? 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Got it.
Mine too.
Okay, next we have a proclamation for Ms. Maggie's house celebrating 25 years.
So we have our next proclamation for the 25th anniversary of, or 25-year celebration for Maggie's House. And before I ask Ms. Martha Martinez to come up, I will be reading it, and it reads as follows. Whereas Maggie's House Child Advocacy Center has dedicated 25 years to providing vital support and services to children and families in our community who have been affected by abuse and neglect. And whereas the dedicated staff and volunteers of Maggie's House have tirelessly worked to create a safe and nurturing environment for children, ensuring that their voices are heard, their needs are met. And whereas Maggie's House has served as a beacon of hope, offering comprehensive services including medical evaluations, forensic interviews, counseling, and advocacy, thereby promoting healing and justice for countless children and their families. And whereas the center has played a pivotal role in fostering collaboration among law enforcement, medical professionals, social workers, and community members to respond to child abuse cases and prevent future incidents effectively. And whereas ongoing commitment and passion of Maggie's House to child advocacy has significantly contributed to raising awareness and driving positive change within our community. Now, therefore, I, Norma Sepulveda, Mayor of Harlingen, by authority vested in me, hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Maggie's House Child Advocacy 25-year celebration. In honor of their 25 years of unwavering dedication and service to children and families, our community, I encourage all citizens to recognize and support the invaluable work of Maggie's House and celebrate their remarkable achievements and contributions. Ms. Martinez, if you'd like to come up.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you so much for having us here. But I do want to say that in the 25 years, we have serviced a little bit over 20,000 children, which is too many. And so being here in the city of Harlingen and providing services to the residents of Harlingen also gives us a lot of insight of two other services that are here in our community. For those of you who don't know how Maggie's House was established, I will briefly tell you. Maggie's House was established in 2000. It was after a child by the name of Maggie Dittman, who was 3 years old, lost her life at the hands of a caretaker. And so her family has been very supportive and have allowed us to use her name so that she can continue to lighten up that road of hope for those other children of abuse. Our homes are all set up as regular homes. So I invite you all, if you ever get an opportunity, you can call us and say, hey, can I go in there and just tour a facility? Know that it is a home where we try to provide a safe, comfortable environment so that children that are victims of abuse and have witnessed a severe crime can go and tell their story to a professional that is completely trained, specially trained to do what we call forensic and interview. They are able to gather the information that law enforcement needs to be able to say that a crime occurred, and they're also able to find the facts that are needed for Child Protective Services to say, did abuse or neglect occur? And so it is much needed in this community, so I do want to thank you all for your continued support. I want to thank the mayor for always being there with us too, since she's been on board, and even prior mayors who have always supported our cause. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, I had the pleasure of providing the welcome at the conference that you held and bringing all the different agencies together, including HPD and others. And Mr. Sines also spoke. And it's really heartbreaking and heart-wrenching that your organization has to exist. But given that it has to exist, I'm so honored to know that you are providing the services and that you're at the helm of this organization and all of the wonderful people that work there, because it really is difficult work and not everybody can do it, but the fact that you're stepping up to do it, to provide these essential services in our community, we can only hope and pray that you have less people to serve in the future, but until then, know that we are here to support you. I don't know if you had a few words.
Y'all do God's work. It's very unfortunate the work y'all have to do, but the last case I tried as a prosecutor came out of y'all's office, and we got a conviction. We're blessed for that, but thank you for everything you all do. You guys are very unsung heroes, very much unsung heroes.
And we would like to take a photo if you would allow, and the commission to join, please. So sometimes there's things that happen in our community that just kind of spark a change or really create something when we didn't know that there was a need. And it's very fitting that we already had Maggie's house here, and I know the Heart Gallery. When you spoke and said that it's important to have these forensic interviews to talk to the children, to be able to elicit the information and providing one space, right, so that they're not re-traumatized. What you said is to give them an opportunity to speak and to tell their story. But sometimes there's incidents, right, in our community when they're too small to speak. And those are really the most vulnerable in our population. And so we had an incident, and I think that many of you that watch the news or on social media, you see, and now we live in a digital age where that information is provided almost instantaneously. And so that is something that happened in our community, and a child that was in the custody of a daycare facility, a provider that's supposed to care and love and be compassionate towards children, and unfortunately there was an incident with a baby, a 15-month-old baby that could not speak and cannot tell her story. And so when that happened, I think everybody in our community just, your heart breaks as a mom, as a neighbor, as a friend, as just a human being, to know that a baby is hurting, and that someone could do something to such a precious child that really doesn't have a voice of their own. And so when that happened in our community, the family of this baby reached out and said a lot of things, and I don't want to share all of the things, but I will say that the best part of the conversation with this family was learning that the baby that had this incident happen was going to recover 100%. And that baby is standing here, not standing, but being held by her mama in the back. And I'll just give a moment to this beautiful little baby. And I'll ask you, Leslie, if you want to come up, and I'll give you the mic to say a few words.
I want to thank you, Norma, and everyone else, of course, for allowing us to come. And more importantly, I'm very proud to be from the city of Harlingen. I feel like the whole city was praying for the recovery of my daughter. And more importantly, I feel like we have a hero also in the room who deserves to be recognized. Officer Castillo, if you could please stand up. I want to thank you on behalf of my daughter who cannot speak. You took your position to serve for the city of Harlingen above and beyond, and because of you, I truly believe that we are standing here today. And I am at loss of words, and I could not thank you enough. If you could please come up.
Oh.
I feel like I said, we cannot thank you enough. You didn't have to take the call, and you did. And when I spoke to you at the hospital, you told me, oh, Leslie, I'm just doing my job. But no, you didn't just do your job. You went above and beyond when you didn't have to, and because of that, my daughter is here today. So thank you so much.
So I'm going to have you stay. I'm going to have you stand right there, Officer Castillo and Leslie. I'll have you stay there with your sweet baby. When the family reached out and said, what can we do to honor Officer Castillo? And I said, well, let me see what we can do, because there is a process that HPD has, and we've seen them. We have so many heroes in the Harlingen Police Department that save people. Sometimes those stories are not shared widely, but the men and women that work for Harlingen PD, they are first class, and they're always going above and beyond what it is that they are tasked to do in their job. They do more than that on an everyday basis, and I'm so proud to also be from Harlingen and to know that they're here to support us. But I wanted to be able to do something for you, for the city of Harlingen. I know that the PD will have something for you as well, but what I thought that we needed here in the city of Harlingen is a mayor's Hometown Hero Award. And so we've created this, and the inaugural award will go to you for your life-saving efforts. For those that don't know, Officer Castillo, he heard the report and immediately responded before the dispatch and arrived at the daycare to an unresponsive baby. I'm going to try not to cry. And administered CPR for 7 minutes, right? And so you don't even know. So for 7, and that is incredible, an unresponsive baby at a daycare where mom thinks my baby is absolutely being taken care of and is fine, because you're a busy mama that works so hard and entrusts, of course, this facility to take care. And you got there and you administered CPR until the paramedics got there. And then the story just gets better and better with the amazing, treatment at Valley Baptist, with the doctor, with the nurse. And here we are just days later, and when we heard an unresponsive child, that's difficult as a mom to hear. But to see her, and then the photos that you sent, she's adorable, and to know that she got the green light that everything is going to be okay. You should be really proud, because we are very proud of you. And so I would like to give this award to you, and if the commission will join, I would love to take a photo with Mom and Officer Castillo.
Okay. All right. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
How do I continue?
Can we all give Officer Castillo another round of applause, please? Okay.
Okay. Let me compose myself. Sorry. Okay, moving on with item 5, citizen communication. At this time, the public is invited to address the city commission and speak on any matter not specifically listed for public hearing elsewhere in this agenda. Please note that the city commission members may not respond to comments or deliberate on on topics addressed. Okay, Mayor, we have 4 citizens that have signed up for communication. We will begin with Mr. Ron Lozano.
Okay. And item number?
It's not a public hearing. There's not a public hearing.
10? We don't have a public hearing on that item. Did you want to?
It's not a public hearing. It's just based on the law, as you well know, it says that last time we spoke, you can speak at that point or at the time of the item, which is 10G.
No, I'm sorry, that's not correct. The actual law that says he has to have the opportunity to speak either at the time of the hearing or before the matter is considered, which we're providing through public comment.
Right.
It's not a hearing.
Okay, Mr. Lozano, you're going to be out of order. Would you like to speak now, sir? Or would you like to speak right now? We can have you speak now if you like.
Well, Mr. Saucy just said when the item is called, that's what my preference is. Either. He said either.
No, I said we had to provide him either one or the other, but it's our option. Once we've provided him the opportunity to speak before the item is considered, we've satisfied our legal obligation. So,
Okay. So again, Mr. Lozano, we'd love to hear you speak. Would you like to take the mic so that way you can have your comments heard?
Well, like I said, or he said either, but
You have 3 minutes, Mr. Lozano.
thank you very much. About 40 days ago, the mayor proffered that now that lawyers are on the board, they're straightening you chaps out. However, the Monarch decision 2 days ago is more on point to why should we rejoin the Brits and jump in the lake? That's the issue that I'm trying to point out. Because it's more relevant to the point I'm trying to make, that we don't have to, a shining city doesn't have to do exactly what others do. And it just happens to be Mark's item, 10G, and that's why he's so clever. The Keep Harlingen Beautiful board has an incestuous sort of country club chubbiness in it. Instead of y'all having selection as you do with other boards, this is the first step in trying to get that incestuous situation where fellow board members are selecting the next buddy system kind of country club thing that I just alluded to. Another factor is that we're hearing about what our Constitution is, the Charter. The Charter points out and sort of ratified by Robert's Rules of Orders, which you are mandated to follow by the Charter. 18 members are expected, yet 5, not even a third, can establish a quorum. You all know well enough what a quorum is by TOMA context. Now, It also has a proviso that special meetings can be conducted anywhere on the globe, inside or outside of Texas. And I don't think that's apropos. For instance, y'all have made a large deal about having the meetings at 5:30, not just this, as has been going on for 70 years, but other boards, that they should meet so citizens that are working maybe outside the city or have had a hard day can clean up and get 30 minutes. So I think that is accurate to try to have meetings at 5:30 so everybody can probably participate. But this, of course, doesn't permit that. And it also says that an ex officio member can be a private organization. Why should a private organization have that ability when everything else is someone like yourselves that have been duly elected? The city manager has some status within Texas, as you well know, with the exception of Houston, and we're not in Houston, and of course the mayor. So those kind of issues lead to, how do you get rid of somebody on the board that doesn't go to the meetings? Well, they point out it could be 3 or 4, but no, we don't want to follow what other boards do. There's an out. With active participation in projects, they can get out of that. So I hope you don't just ratify something that a lawyer puts out. I hope you look at it a little deeper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lozano.
Next, we have Mr. Raymond Reyes. Mr. Reyes?
There you are. I didn't see you.
Mayor, City Commission, Raymond Reyes, 706 Nantucket Drive. I don't even know where to start. Well, there's obviously a lot of good things, continuing to happen. There's a lot of other things that are going on. I have this thing, and it's on the agenda. I don't know. I want to speak now because I got other people waiting for me already. It's a nightmare to be retired. I should have stayed working. So I have a thing coming up, the Southern Valley Festival, which basically are the same guys that used to do the big South Padre Island Bike Fest or whatever it was. So now they want to do it here, and it's going to be in August. I see that the board approved it for the downtown. The police looked over at everything, but we did request the use of the city stage, which I don't see that on here. No, and that's fine because these guys found out what happened with the other event that I had, where it didn't cost the city anything, but we had a lot of kids come out. It was the Sonic the Hedgehog thing when we had the actors come out from the movie, which a lot of people were asking me, well, how did we manage to do that when it wasn't done, somewhere else in the United States? Because a lot of people hadn't even heard of Harlingen, Texas, the people that reached out to me, which I thought was a good thing because it kind of, But at the last minute, even though there's no set fee set for the stage, all of a sudden a fee appeared and the promoters weren't too happy about that. They had to fork out, I think it was $500 or whatever it was. Again, even though there's no set fee for the use of that stage. So they paid it, left a sour taste in their mouth. Now, from what I understand, they're going to be working with McAllen, if I understood correctly what they were telling me. So they're not going to be doing it in Harlingen anymore, which is unfortunate because it didn't cost the city anything. This particular one that's coming up in August is not going to cost the city anything at all. Again, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago at Luna, and they were like, well, if the city doesn't want to cough up the stage, that's fine. We don't need the stage. We will bring our own stage. So I just wanted to mention that because I didn't even know it was going to be on the agenda. I've been very busy doing some other things. Another thing that's going on that I think is really good, and I apologize, it's LNF. We got things going on with them, is that one of my tenants that I'm working with is going to be, he wants to distribute 300 backpacks full with school supplies and stuff. So we're going to start pushing something like that out. I'm going to be donating a whole bunch of waters and stuff. I'm trying to turn it into a little thing on my property, which some of you guys have been out there before and stuff. In the back area, it's grass. It's not pavement where you can slip and fall and bust up your knees and things of that nature. So I thought that was a real good thing because giving away stuff for the citizens of Harlingen, especially the kids, is always a good thing. That's our future. So This time the buzzer beat me. So that's all I got. But thank you very much for your time. You all have a good evening and a good meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Okay, Mayor, next we have Ms. Diana Padilla.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. I am actually here to bring something to your attention. It's going to need probably more research, but I am the owner of the property on Morris Road. We own 75 acres, and we are neighbors to the Allison Subdivision. The Allison Subdivision is the project that you guys approved in December for duplexes and such, and I guess cooperating to pay for some of the costs for their project. But the Allison Subdivision has encroached on our property. We got home from a conference last week of June, and we find big tractors and our fence broken and our electric fence cut and big machinery taking loads of dirt from our property to the next property. We file a police report for theft, damage to property, and trespassing, and they tell us that we have no rights because the irrigation district has given that water easement to the city of Harlingen. Well, in my brief conversation with the head engineer, which is Andy Volstocks, something like that, he was sitting and he said, well, irrigation district gave us that land. And I asked him, us? Who's us? And he said, the city of Harlingen, but you no longer work for the city of Harlingen. So there are some irregularities in this. He worked for the city of Harlingen 3 years ago. He started his company 3 years ago. Choice Construction, what is it? The company that is doing the subdivision started 3 years ago. Leonard Simmons is a director of that Choice company. Leonard Simmons is also the president of the irrigation district. So we need some clarity here. They are putting a subdivision across. Great. The city is helping them with some issues. Great. But we shouldn't lose 4 acres of our property for a private company when the irrigation district says they gave it to the city and the city is allowing them to do it. There's a problem, and we need to address it. I was told by the engineer that we're stopping the project. That is why I'm coming to you today. We did stop the project, but there's some irregularities that need to be addressed. We are across from that subdivision, and we never even know they were going to be built until they encroached our property. I need your help. I need to clarify what happened and why 80 loads of our precious dirt is on their property. That's about $22,000 worth of dirt.
Thank you so much for coming out and bringing this to our attention. I know I see Oscar taking notes, and thank you for being here. I know I've been out to your property. You do great work out there. We'll definitely look into it. This is the first that I'm hearing of it. I know that Oscar will look into it, and if you can just leave your contact information with him, and we'll have him reach out. I know you both are very busy out there and don't come to many of the meetings, but this. As much as the commission wants to be able to engage, we can't do that from the dais at this point based on our rules, but it is something that we all are, I'm assuming everyone here is on the same page and definitely want to get to the bottom of it. So thank you for taking the time to come out here with your busy schedules and bring it to our attention, and Oscar will be definitely reaching out. If you can just leave him your contact information.
Thank you very much for allowing me to do this.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Next, we have Aurelio Torres.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor and City Commissioners, for allowing me to address you all. I'm here reference to a bid that I submitted for city property, 807 East Washington Avenue. My understanding is that I was the only person that submitted a bid for that property. And I know that it's on the agenda today. You're going to be voting whether to accept or not accept if it benefits the city. I just want to give you some background story to the lot. I bought a lot right next door at 811 East Washington back in August 2022. When I purchased the lot, I went out there, and I'm not a real estate whiz or anything, so I didn't get it surveyed. And I'm paying for it now. I didn't get it surveyed. I assumed that, there was part of my lot because it had a fence post there, and it was just kind of a small area. So I didn't think much of it. I did look at it before I started cleaning it out. Toward the back of the lot, there was homeless people that were living there. And they had been living for a long time, and there was a lot of junk and debris, and I think I counted maybe like 8 or 10 shopping carts. I contacted the code enforcement, the Harlingen Police Department, to notify them what was going on, and the code enforcement said that was my property, so I needed to take care of that. So I contracted some folks to kind of remove a lot of the foliage and branches so that you could see the back of the lot from the street. And I did that. I mowed the grass and kept it up for a while. A year later, I had it surveyed, and I found out that the little piece that I was spending a lot of time mowing did not belong to me. In fact, it belonged to the city. So I notified the code enforcement that that little piece of land did not belong to me. It belonged to the city, and if they could go out and clean it out. There was a homeless person that I spoke to that said he had been staying there for, I don't know if it's exaggeration, but he said about 20 years. He said, this is really nice space. I can come here and drink and do whatever I want, and then look at the Liberty Garden. I can enjoy the view and everything. And you couldn't see from the street because it was so enclosed. I had a conversation with him, and I told him that he couldn't stay there. I have little grandkids, and I was going to be taking him out there, and I don't know if you're doing anything wrong, but I'm sure you'll scare my kids if I bring him out here. But he left on his own. I cleaned up the mess, and then somebody else moved in with a bus. They camouflaged it with palm fronds and branches, and it was there for a while. Got a hold of code enforcement. They were able to work with the legal department and get that bus removed. And then right before the last rain, there was another homeless person there that was staying there. And it's obviously a problem. To borrow, I don't know if any of you are familiar with broken windows theory, that if you have a broken window and you don't repair it, then the idea is, well, nobody cares about it and we can break another window. Well, basically, I think the word's out there that nobody's going to check there, and people go there and stay there. What they're doing, I don't know. But the purpose of me purchasing that is so that I can clean it up and enhance the view there for the Cultural Arts Center, the library, and all that. So I'm asking that you approve the bid. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. I have some pictures that I took back in December 22nd. And then when I notified the city, I have some pictures of my lot in the little area that I'm talking about and how it hasn't been mowed. The city has never been out there, even when I notified them, to mow the grass or do anything with that piece of property. So I just want to make sure I maintain it and make sure nobody goes out there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Torres. We are a little over the time already, but once we get to that item, if the commission has some questions, if you can just stick around, and we will get to that item as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, that closes out the citizen communication item.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes. Item 6A, special meeting of June 17th, 2024.
Are there any amendments to the minutes?
I need to send one. It's on page 2. I'll send it, but it's a short one. It's the one I called you about, Mike. But I'll make a motion to approve subject to that one amendment.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Send it to you.
carries.
I apologize. I forgot.
And you'll pass that to Melinda?
Yeah, I'll send it right now. Melinda and Cynthia.
Okay. Next, we have item 7, consent agenda. No discussion is anticipated on any of the items in this section because they are routine business, were included in the budget adoption process, or have been previously discussed as staff report or discussion item. These items will be considered collectively by a single vote unless a commission member requests an item be removed from the consent agenda. Okay. Item 7A.
Okay, we have items 7A through F. Are there any items that need to be removed?
There was one
Any need to be withdrawn? Gentlemen?
There was one I had a question on. Just 1 second. I apologize. Oh, if actually, just real quick, it's Josh. I don't know if you can tell me. I know Mr. just brought it up. The Southern Valley. What is that? It's item E. Southern Valley Fest event. It's just going to be a biker fest. Is that all it is?
That's what was proposed. We haven't discussed it further. They're going to bring something else.
Okay.
But this is just to close the streets, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what it was. That's it. Now I'll make a motion to approve all the consent items.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we're moving on to item 8, staff reports and other discussion items. Items in this section are not expected to require action by the City Commission and are generally for information only. However, any item listed in this section may become an action item with the request of the mayor or after the request of any two commission members or the city manager. Item 8A, City Manager's Report. We have...
I need to schedule budget workshops, but I would like to wait till Monday to see, or maybe even Friday, to see what the weather forecast is going to be for next week. And then we can start to canvass the commission on budget workshop and then possibly workshop or a special meeting to discuss the charter amendments. And then for the next city council meeting, we'll have a staff report on drainage improvements that we've made so far and the condition of that system. That's all I had.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out, yes. And actually, for Tropical Storm Alberto, it worked really well. We didn't have any flooding, even though we had about 4 inches of rain throughout the city.
All right.
Is that correct, Commissioner Mesmo? 4 inches of rain?
10 at my house.
10 at your house?
God loves you.
Over 8 days.
That's all I had.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8B, staff reports. We have none to disclose, Mayor.
Okay.
So we'll move on to item 9, public hearings. At this time, the mayor will invite members of the public who have filled out the public hearing and the citizen communication form to address each item listed in this section. Please limit your comments to the topic of that public hearing. If more than one public hearing is being held, you will be allowed to speak during each topic, provided you have filled out the public hearing and citizen communication form for the appropriate topic. If you are signed up for 2 or more public hearings, you will be limited to 5 minutes for all topics. Mayor, we had no public hearings to disclose.
Okay, I think we still have to do the public hearings,
Yes.
open and close them. So we'll do 9A, public hearing for a special use permit to allow the adult business smoke shop and general retail district located at 218 West Tyler Avenue, Suite A, bearing a legal description of lots 14 and 15, Block 82, Harlingen Original Town Site Subdivision. The applicant is David Maya. At this time, we will open the public hearing. Having no one here to speak for or against the adoption of this SUP, no one having signed up, we will now close the public hearing and move on to 9B, public hearing to adopt an ordinance on first reading for the voluntary annexation of a 7.9 acre tract of land out of Lot 16, Cunningham Subdivision, located along the south side of Primero Road, approximately 1,100 feet west of I-69 East. This is for the Harlingen EDC. At this time, we'll open the public hearing, but having no one here to speak for or against the adoption of this ordinance, having no one to sign up to speak at this public hearing, we will now close the public hearing, and we'll move on.
Okay. Item 10, action items. City Commission will discuss, consider, and take any action deemed necessary on items listed in this section, including the adoption of a resolution or an ordinance. Item 10A, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading for a special use permit SUP to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail GR district located at 218 West Tyler Avenue, Suite A, bearing a legal description of lots 14 and 15, Block 82, Harlingen Original Townsite Subdivision, applicant David Maya. Planning and Development.
You want to read the caption?
Sure. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Harlingen to issue a special use permit, SUP, to David Maya to allow an adult business smoke shop in a general retail GR district located at 218 West Tyler Avenue, Suite A, bearing a legal description of lots 1415, Block 82, Harlingen Original Townsite Subdivision.
Javier? Go ahead.
Javier?
I have no questions. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay.
Is the owner here?
You
Can I-
wanna,
Just a quick question.
just at the mic, sir, if you will.
David Maya, the address of the business will be 218 West Tyler, Suite B. Suite A.
My question is about checking IDs.
Yes.
With the proliferation of youngsters that are using the vape cartridges and so on, I just want to make sure you've got good sound methods in place to make sure we don't.
Oh, yes, absolutely. The POS system that we'll be using will be integrated in that. So it will check, we will scan the IDs and the ID it will reflect on the screen saying if they're 21 or older or not.
Thank you.
Is
Go
this if they pay with a credit card or just
No,
all
their
purchases?
driver license. They would have to have
okay.
a physical ID, a state of Texas ID, whether it would be a driver license or just an identification card.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
So my motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Javier.
Item B, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on first reading for the voluntary annexation of a 7.9 acre tract of land out of Lot 16, Cunningham Subdivision, located along the south side of Primera Road, approximately 1,100 feet west of I-69 East, U.S. Expressway 77, applicant Harlingen EDC, Planning and Development.
Mark, you want to read the caption?
An ordinance extending the corporate limits of the City of Harlingen by annexing for full purpose a 7.9 acre tract of land out of Lot 16, Cunningham Subdivision, located along the south side of Primera Road, approximately 1,100 feet west of I-69 East, U.S. Expressway 77, binding the land to all of the acts, ordinances, resolutions, and regulations of the city, approving an annexation services agreement, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fettis, second by Mike Mesmer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to item C, consideration and possible action to adopt an ordinance on second and final reading, amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 111, zoning, Article 6, Section 111 through 140, off-street parking, by amending the dimensions of the off-street parking spaces, Article 21, Section 111 through 582, Appendix B, parking, aisle width chart, by amending the length and maneuvering space of the parking spaces, Article 10, sign regulations, Section 111 through 277C, lighting, and Section 111, 277D, additional sign regulations for billboards, by removing any reference to sign permits for animated signs only being issued for the conversation and existing signs to the said animated sign. Applicant, City of Harlingen.
An ordinance amending the City of Harlingen Code of Ordinances, Chapter 111 zoning, Article 6, Section 111, 100 to 140, off-street parking, by amending the dimensions of the off-street parking spaces, Article 21, Section 111, 582, Appendix B, parking aisle width chart, by amending the length and maneuvering space of the parking spaces, Article 10, sign regulations, Section 111-277C, lighting in Section 111-277D, additional sign regulations for billboards by removing any reference to sign permits for animated signs only being issued for the conversion of existing signs to the said animated sign, providing for publication and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
Make motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to item 10D, consideration and possible action to approve the one-year action plan budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, year 50 of the Community Development Block Grant CDBG and the Home Investment Partnership Home programs as recommended by the Community Development Advisory Board. CDBG?
Sandy is making her way up to the podium. She'll be here in just a minute.
She's regretting sitting on the back now, right?
Sorry about that. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Here we are again, 1 year later. So as you all know, the city of Harlingen is an entitlement community for CDBG and home funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This year, we are receiving $913,635 of CDBG funding and $325,912 of home funding. We published a notice of funding availability on May the 11th, and applications were due on June the 5th. We received a total of 17 applications. One of them was from Harlingen Waterworks. 5 of the applications were from the Parks Department. One of them was from Planning Code Compliance. One of them was from our department, and 9 of them were from public service agencies. We met with the board. So the applicants all had the opportunity to present before the board on June the 12th at the library. We also had a public hearing at that time. And then the board met after that to have a workshop and establish the recommendations. So here they are. I'm not real sure. I think y'all have something that looks like this. So I'm going to go through each one. I will announce the amount requested by the applicant and then the amount that's being recommended by the board. We do have several board members here, and also most of the applicants have a representative here in case you all have any more questions that I cannot answer. They're here to answer for you. So the first applicant we had was the fire hydrant improvements phase 1, which is from Harlingen Waterworks. They requested a total of $314,856.75. This is the project is for the installation of 9 fire hydrants, approximately 440 linear feet of 8-inch water line to provide fire coverage to currently 200 unprotected homes.
Sandy, I think, to save us some time, I think the documents speak for themselves. I don't know if the commission has any questions on any of these recommendations. I want to really thank the Community Development Advisory Board. I know you guys put in a lot of work and it's super stressful. I remember being alongside many of you guys, and you stay up at night, right? Because there's so many fantastic organizations. There's just not enough money. And in fact, so I do tip my hat to you guys. The one thing that I fell in love with while I was with you guys on that board was the clearance and demolition one. And I know you guys, it seems like everyone tried to be as equitable as possible by kind of breaking up that money, right? I think from the public service, the area agency on aging, all the way down to Sunshine Haven, you guys kind of divvied it up exactly the same, correct?
Correct.
Now, as I spoke to you earlier, Sandy, you said that the Aging and Disability Resource Center, this is the first time they've ever applied with us?
Correct.
Right. And then the Area Agency on Aging is also with the Rio Grande Valley Lower Development Council, right?
Right.
What I would recommend to this commission, based on what I've learned through our conversation, is that we move the money out of those two organizations and bump it into the clearance and demolition, as the city's been making strides to beautify our city and get rid of the dilapidated houses and whatnot. And so that would be a total of $25,695, would then move from Aging and Disability Resource and Area Agency on Aging into clearance and demolition. Otherwise, I think you guys did a phenomenal job with everything you guys could do, right? This is just a preference thing.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is the funding this year equal, greater, or less than last year?
CDBG is
It's greater.
slightly greater and home is slightly lower.
Okay. Well, that breaks a trend. I know for 12 years,
Right,
it's been stair-stepping down, approaching
right,
a tiny number.
correct.
So, it's always hard. This is always a hard one. I don't know how you do it, Sandy, and the board. It's not easy. But I don't know how I feel. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels removing the funds from the Aging and Disability Resource Center and the Area Agency of Aging, just because we had recently talked about how we're going to focus on the aging population and just adopting a more age-friendly community, and I think that this is potentially going in that direction. However, having said that, I agree 100% as well, that I don't like that we did not fund the entire amount that was requested for the clearance and demolition, because that is needed. So I don't know if there's any other suggestions. I just, taking away from one to give another is unfortunately y'all's arena, and what the struggle is. Those are just the concerns. When we did the citywide survey, one of the issues was lack of resources and care for the elderly in our community. So again, just for discussion for the commission.
Yeah, I considered that, and the way I've at least justified it to myself is that we are.
But you know what? I'm going to take that back and strike everything, because I sit on that board, and it might be inappropriate for me to. I didn't think about that, but not on the specific department. So I think it's fine, but I think I probably should
lower
comment.
Brandy.
Yeah, I'm the chair of the organization, not the specific department, but I think it's probably better for me to just strike that from the record and
Let's do what
disregard and whatever Daniel says. But I just had that thought in my head, and I'm a human being, and so I'm going to put that out there. I make mistakes sometimes, but nonetheless, in terms of the demolition, I think that is really important, and we've been struggling, and I know Code is struggling, and we want to beautify our community. Starting with the Keep Harlingen Beautiful and all of those initiatives. So I guess I'm going to sit this one out.
I like to break down as it's presented.
Okay.
Let me, for your clarification, Daniel, Commissioner, I think what I asked about 2 years ago didn't get any traction, so we need to try it again. Ask our lobbyists to get our.
I already did it. The National Guard, right? Done. Yes?
Yes.
All right.
All right, and the reason behind it is it will not only benefit Cameron County, but also Hidalgo, and just get them to start coming in. I know, and I mentioned this to the mayor before, with what she did last year or 2 years ago with you guys, you did a lot more work than people can give you guys credit for. Because I saw it coming, and I confirmed it from some of the remarks that I've got back to me. And I do strongly believe with the new change of personnel up there, we're going to get a lot more done. So this is one that I strongly believe that they'll open the doors for us, and we'll use this little bit here plus what they're going to give us later.
Yeah, my only concern to that is with the state's position on border security and what we've been doing with our human resources, manpower, what is it, Operation Lone Star, things like that. I don't know if that opportunity will come back to us to use the the National Guard or the State Guard to do the demolitions.
The thing is, that would be a perfect place for people to hide and a perfect place for illegal activity. And that's what we need to convey to Austin. That's why we need them. And it's not just for Harlingen, it's not just for Cameron County, but throughout the border counties. So I believe they could listen this time around.
I just want to clarify, was that a motion, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. I don't know if there's any other discussion.
I have a question. For clearance and demolitions, what can you do? What can anybody do for $7,007?
That's why I was like, why is it there?
I mean, that would buy Gatorade. I exaggerate
maybe
slightly.
2 or 3 structures. So,
No,
Not even.
not even one, correct?
No, I mean, you can do more than one, but the tipping fees, that's where the bulk of the funds will go.
I'm sorry, which fees?
that's what it is.
It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
landfill.
Right.
So that's what we're paying for, the tipping fees. Traditionally, we used to use the National Guard like y'all were discussing. But this past year, Public Works did the demolitions.
Okay, so Public Works would continue to do one demolition
One, maybe.
and tipping fees.
Depending
Maybe
on the
2.
size.
Yeah, and the money's in the tipping fees.
Right.
Okay.
I think since we're giving money to one organization, we're giving it twice, I wouldn't see the harm. I mean, there's going to be, you know what I mean? But I would be okay with taking money out of one of them and giving it to the demolition, clearance and demolition. Also, I know when I was at the meeting for the CDBG, I know Jim mentioned how the Amigos de Valle were financially sound, and that they didn't really necessarily need this money, because I know you guys did a very good, thorough job looking at all the financials that they provided, and it wasn't really necessary. So do y'all still think that's the case, Jim?
So, one thing should be said, and it might be obvious. One of the things that we don't do as a board is try to talk about which projects or organizations we love the most. There's no real good way to do this. As a board, we have typically preferred to allocate funds to organizations that have fewer other ways to fund themselves. That drives us toward the service organizations. And so it's been our practice to take the 15% cap, which is what we're limited to allocate to the service organizations, and allocate all of that. And of course, that's been subject to adjustment as is appropriate by the commission. With regard to the $7,007, that's what we had left. It's so hard on the service organizations, and we didn't have some of the issues we had last year with certain service organizations that had some difficulty with paperwork and applications, and that's quite a process. So there really wasn't much to distinguish them. We tried to equitably allocate toward them. On the city projects, we generally like to do complete projects. We've been working on Vestal Park. We've gotten Vestal Park now to a place where we felt it was appropriate to shift to Dixieland Park. Parks is another thing that our board really likes to focus on. And then the fire hydrant project was deemed very important. It's not something we traditionally allocate money toward, even for the city projects. But as a board, we decided it was very important and it qualified. And so we chose to fund that. Did you have a different question?
So can Amigos de Valle do without the funding?
Okay, so again, we kind of, we don't ever say we love what Boys and Girls Club does more than Amigos del Valle. That's a silly conversation. They do have financials that show them with robust resources, a robust organization. With such limited resources, we try to get the most bang out of our buck, and we try to allocate based on who we think really needs it the most. We kind of were splitting hairs this time around. We split it up into 8 shares and split up one of the 2 from the Aging and Disability Resource in Amigos del Valle. And that was really the only reason. Amigos del Valle is terrific. We're trying to find a way to make the most out of what is pretty limited resources.
So Jim, and I was having a kind of a sidebar conversation with Gabe. I noticed that last year we reduced the funding for the Boys and Girls Club, and it looks like it happened again this time. And listening to the Amigo, again, they do great work, Amigos de Valle, all of the organizations do. But if they are in a healthy financial situation and don't really need those funds, do you think that they would be more appropriate towards the Boys and Girls Club?
I think that's a question that this body needs to answer, with boys and girls. And I don't mean to totally shirk it, but
That was a very diplomatic response. I love it.
No lawyers in the room tonight, okay?
Sounds like a lawyer.
I'm just saying, in terms of, and putting aside the wonderful work both organizations do, I'm just, when you're looking at this and you're looking at the financials and you're studying them, which, we want to be able to allocate this money where it will be put to work and is needed. And if there's any organization that it's not truly needed, not because they're not doing great work, but because the funds are not needed because they are self-sustaining or have many other avenues of fundraising possibilities.
And it's hard to say that Amigos del Valle doesn't need the resources. I mean, what they do is tremendous. We also know that the Boys and Girls Club spends the money that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald's here, he can tell you, and we all know how they operate. So while they have resources, they also use them. And
Mm-hmm.
we also know that for every $300 we can give to Boys and Girls Club, they can get to another kid. So what I'll do is I'll represent to you guys what the standards are that the board has used, what's important to us, and that's bang for our buck, trying to find a way when there's no good way to get as much out of every dollar as possible, trying to make sure that what we allocate actually turns into material good. That's the reason why since I've been on the board, we've always maxed out the 15% of the service organizations, because the other projects, well, we've got taxpayers in the city budget and all that, and that's kind of y'all's job. So that's the attitude generally of the board. But that's subject to your review.
So going back to what I was saying earlier is that the reason I cut those two big pictures that we were, in my mind, still going to give money to Amigos de Valle, but we can change it. And then the other one we're giving money to is Sunshine Haven, which also caters to the elderly as well. So they would still have two, and then code enforcement would have a little money. Because they've been doing fantastic work, code enforcement, knocking down buildings everywhere to really just improve the appearance of the whole city.
And then I say you ask boards to do work, and they present it, and then the city council wants to micromanage it. So why have a board?
So
I've said this over the years.
in that vein, there is a motion by Commissioner Kinsley to adopt as presented. Is there a second?
I will second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
I didn't hear you, Commissioner.
I'm in favor.
Aye. Okay. So the ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you for your incredible work. We appreciate all of you do.
It's Sandy and her staff.
Yes.
come
We
to
know
meetings,
that, Jim.
It's Sandy and her
No,
staff.
but we also thank the board too for their tireless work. I know it's difficult for all of you, and so thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Sandy, could you just ask your board to stand just so we can recognize the members?
And you guys know this, it shouldn't go unsaid that the service of Ms. Lupita Muniz on this board reaches like 5 decades among all the other things she's done for this city. So that should be special.
No, maybe sometime, maybe there's another hometown hero. I don't know. Thank you, Ms. Moniz, Mr. Morales. Thank you so much. All right, moving on.
To item 10E, consideration and possible action to amend purchase order 84083 for an increase of $48,229 and authorize the city manager to purchase one roll-off truck through Vanguard Truck Center from the Sanitation Enterprise Fund, Public Works.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Good job, Kristen.
Item 10F, consideration and possible action to approve amendments to the purchasing manual for the City of Harlingen Finance Department.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners.
Quick question, sorry.
Sure.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Because all this is
No.
compliance with the state, correct?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for one specific grant.
Here's my question.
Sure.
I know that back in, what was it, April of 2023?
Right.
We went through this. Why are we going through this again? What did they find? Well, better yet, I do know what they found.
So in 2023, we were including Chapter 3, which is for federal grants, specifically for federal grants. Like we have our citywide purchasing policy, but to be in compliance with the uniform guidance, we included a chapter specifically for federal grants. So this supplement to Chapter 3 is specifically for the federal highway.
It's for TxDOT grants.
For the TxDOT grant. So as we're doing more applications for grants, the Federal Highway Administration requires a specific wording governing engineering and those professional services. So they have reviewed this supplement to be included in our, and it's required for when you're applying for the grants, and that is why we're supplementing.
Is this the first time it's been required?
Yes.
I believe
They actually,
wide application, yeah.
they actually asked us to amend our policy to include that section
Right.
regarding TxDOT grants.
And they've reviewed it and
If we
approved
don't
it.
amend it, we may not be able to apply for any,
Federal highway grants.
right.
No, that I understand. I'm just wondering if we missed it before, a year ago.
No, we've been applying for TxDOT grants, they just never required it before, but now
Right.
they looked at the purchasing manual, and said, look, you need to include this in your, so that's why we brought it to you guys.
And it's specifically for engineering and design.
All right, is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Great job, Robert.
Thank you.
Item 10G, consideration and possible action to approve the proposed bylaws for the Keep Harlingen Beautiful Board and to authorize the city attorney to make any corresponding changes to articles of incorporation. City attorney.
I do have some proposed changes on that. The first one is on Article 3, Section 3.03, where it talks about a representative of the mayor, the city commissioners, the city manager, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Harlingen HCISD will serve as ex officio members of the board, but should not be entitled to vote at the meetings. I would prefer it just to say all the city commission. The entire city commission would be ex officio members. That way we can be present at the board meetings and all that.
Which, I'm sorry?
3.03, which is page 2. It's at the top of page 2. You see it? 3.03.
Oh, okay.
And then he's talking about essentially the last sentence. It's like the last 4 lines.
So instead of putting a representative, the mayor and the city commissioners, just put, the mayor and the city commissioners are ex officio members. Of course, non-voting, of course, but just ex officio members.
So you want to exclude the city manager?
No. Keep them all there. I don't want to change any of that.
You just want to delete basically a representative.
Exactly.
of,
Yes.
And then say the mayor, the
Yes.
city.
Oh, okay. Got it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, but they all are, but okay. Got it.
Wait, I'm still confused.
I read it wrong.
You want one representative for, is this how this reads? One representative for the city commissioners, or 5 city commissioners are ex officio?
We're all the ex officio members. It's
Did
non-voting.
you write this, Mark?
Well, I did not, he's just making a suggestion that, okay, here's the thing. What we talked about, what the board talked about recommending, because I guess they had a problem with meeting. They had 18 directors, and we talked about reducing the quorum requirements to 5, which you can do under the Texas Business Corporation Act. The articles of incorporation can provide for less than a different number. But the thing is that doesn't apply to public entities. If we're going to have a city commissioner sitting here discussing an issue, we have to meet in an amount of a quorum.
Even if they're going to be ex officio board members?
But they're still meeting to discuss public business.
Okay.
So even if they're ex officio, they may not have a vote, but they're commissioners and they're meeting to discuss a matter of public business. So that is going to affect their quorum requirement.
What's your recommendation? Mark?
Well, I mean, it just depends as a matter of policy whether you want the city commissioners to be actively engaged in the board as a body or not. If you do, then we're going to have to impose the same quorum requirements that you guys have on yourselves. If you don't, then we can do with something different. But there's different rules that apply to governmental entities and a private corporation.
Because and I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it, because I didn't realize until right now that this was going to happen. But now, how is this any different than we post a notice of a potential quorum because all the commissioners want to attend the meeting?
Well, you have quorum requirements for the board itself, right? So I guess we would be able to satisfy that if we posted notice since they didn't have a vote.
Right. What she's talking about is intent to participate. They're not ex officio members. They can just be there as a quorum.
Be there as a quorum.
And participate in the discussion. So they're not violating TOMA, but they're not actually part of.
Yeah, we're kind of creating a beast here, like combining different rules.
My concern is this, guys, that there's already 2 commissioners that are board members. So now are they ex officio members or are they board members?
I thought the whole plan was that you guys were going to get out of
I'm
being
not
board
on
members.
it, but yes, that's the plan. But then the problem is, what if you don't appoint somebody and then you have the same problem of not meeting? So I did like the fact that I thought it's you two. So those are the concerns. You're either one or the other.
My concern, if we have commissioners meeting as a body and talking about a matter of public policy that's city business, then the quorum requirements of the Open Meetings Act apply, and the notice requirements
Every
apply.
time.
Everything applies. So, I mean, yeah, if we're having a meeting of some other entity and a group of commissioners may just happen to be present, I think you can get around and say, well, we might have a notice of quorum there, but the intent is not to have a meeting, but we're giving the public notice of a potential quorum. But this is different. You're talking about, a body of commissioners, meeting without having a posted notice. So that is going to trigger your open
So I think what and the way that I read it is that if you adopt this as it is, there's 2, or as proposed, would be 2 issues. One would be you have that confusion on, okay, do they get a vote or they don't get a vote? Because right now they would, based on the 2 that are on the board. And then the other is, it doesn't matter what it says here. Every time they have a meeting, you're going to have to post a notice of intent to participate, because if not, we'd be in violation. So it doesn't matter if the bylaws say this. It just, we would have to.
We have to comply with the requirements of the public.
Right. So.
Why wouldn't we post that they're having a meeting?
Well, then, Mike, I guess the issue is then what's the purpose? Because we could always go to the meeting.
Well, just because I know in certain instances with certain boards, if it's not specifically stated in their bylaws, they could refuse to allow somebody in there.
Oh, like executive session?
Like an executive session or anything like that. That's my thing.
And I think that is that it really isn't an issue. That really is an issue, but maybe that's something that we can adopt in terms of this.
Omnibus bill?
Yes, that you guys are working on, that says the city commission, something about can participate in executive session on these boards.
And sometimes it's helpful if you have maybe 1 or 2 members of the city commissioners who can be representatives to the board, who can report back and inform the entire commission, so you don't have a quorum meeting, and then have to worry about fulfilling the requirements of that public information.
Some of the RGB cities do that, where they have a commissioner that's appointed to certain committees and boards, and I think that that's good, and maybe that's something that we need to entertain, and it gives an opportunity that the commission at least has not a voice, but something that
is aware of what's going on.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would be similar to me being on the STEC board.
Correct.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's fine.
it seems to me you want to form this committee, this group, and yet city government has to have the control of that independent group.
Well, first off, there's no control because you're not a voting member. All I'm saying is that we'll be able to attend and there won't be any issues. That's the whole point. You
But
keep exerting there's
aren't
some
we
kind of
allowed
restriction.
to attend any committee meeting
Well, okay, well, then you
without
can,
a formal invite?
yes, but then there's some instances where they can be removed, and I would prefer that not.
Who could be removed from what?
Like, say, for example, because what I'm using this is based on the example that happened recently with the Waterworks Board. Okay? The Waterworks had an executive session, and because it's not in the charter, they were able to basically tell one of the commissioners here that he could leave.
And which commissioner was that?
Me.
They didn't let you sit in?
No, they didn't. There was a personnel matter, and that was that, so it's no big, I looked at it as no big deal, okay? But for some reason or another, and I was told later, that's part of their bylaws.
Okay. But they're independent of, they're the dotted line of the city. They're not independent, but they're not under control of us.
Yeah, but ultimately, like, say, with the, in case, again, we're getting off subject with the Waterworks, but with the Waterworks, decisions that they make are eventually going to come to us and are going to have to be approved by us. So I don't think it's right that we don't have they can deny us access on something that we're supposed to be able to be informed about.
That's why they present stuff to us to inform
Yeah, but then,
us.
executive session, there's a lot of, as when we do our executive session, a lot of times there's a lot of reasoning behind everything. We only get the end result, but we don't get the reasoning behind it.
Well, to get back to Keep Arms Are Beautiful, my question is why do we need a giant board like that to begin with? I mean, I ran Keep Arms Are Beautiful for many years with a board half that size, and I don't understand the need for an 18-person board.
I agree.
And then saying that only 5 got to be there to be a quorum. I mean, let's cut the size of the board, I would think.
That's a great idea.
Bravo.
So have
I think we all get 3 picks,
Can
right?
you do that, Mark?
Everybody gets 3 picks.
Yeah, we could just amend the articles and the bylaws to do
So
whatever.
maybe
I mean,
it's just
like
like
all
Dahlia,
other
where
boards,
it's
we
7
each get
members?
1, and the mayor gets 2 or whatever we're saying in this new ordinance thing.
The larger the board, the higher the
Absolutely.
probability of no quorum.
Yeah, my reasoning, at least at keeping it at 18 and then dropping the quorum, is that we had just appointed a bunch of people, and it was just like avoiding the awkwardness of like, hey, we just appointed you. Oh, now we're going to take you off this board. No, we're going to take you off the board, right? And so I was like, it was more of a social issue. And so if I drop it down to 5, and what we can do is, let's say at the next time, which I guess will be y'all's election, now we go down to less members and less members, and so people get, what is it, through attrition? We do through attrition.
I know it's cumbersome, but the fact is that it's very difficult to get that many people there. And perhaps your better answer is, instead of kicking the can down the road, is to establish a reasonable number of board members now, 5 to 7, a reasonable traditional quorum, define it in a traditional way, and then just march on down the line.
I would say, I like how the CDBG is set up, because I think in the CDBG, we each get like 2 board members, don't we?
We get 3.
They do, but
Yeah, the problem is
CDBG?
people not showing up.
Oh, I got.
What? You got more than I do, Daniel? What's
Oh,
going
no,
on?
I don't know. I do not recall.
So what about, on this there's another board that has, which may be best to kind of maybe model after this, is you have your executive board, right, that needs to meet and has quorum, and then within that board, then you have like a kind of a committee, a second tier of members that don't need to be part of the quorum but participate, and then they're put into little subcommittees. And then everyone that is there can participate and just, that way, I think you'll have more perspectives, more voices, more volunteers, but you still have that executive board of, say, 7, and it's more likely that they will meet. And then the other smaller boards or smaller committees can meet on off days or together, but it just makes it easier as working groups for the smaller ones, and then the executive board meets. What about,
Well, we already have that, right? So we already have a 5-person executive board, it's a 5-person executive board, president, vice president, treasurer,
Correct.
secretary. I guess We don't have it listed in there, but what do we have in Rotary? We have the sergeant at arms, right? with probably
So
the
why
fifth person.
can't they be the quorum instead of the larger?
You can provide your voting to be made by the executive board, and then you avoid that whole thing. So the directors would basically be, I mean, advisory, but
They'll be all
your
affixed.
voting board members would be your executive board. And then you've got 5, so it doesn't really matter whether or not the rest of the people show up or who shows up. They can have verbal input, but the votes would actually be made by your executive board.
Yeah, that's what
Well, why would you want to be on a board if you can't vote?
Why do you want to?
Great question.
Yeah, and then on the CDBG.
What was that? What did I hear? Why would you want to be on a board if you
That's
can't
the
vote?
mayor, though.
Oh, you're gonna eat that.
Interesting.
You
signed up for that job. No, you signed up for that.
That's interesting.
The CDBG has 2
I'm
members.
just, I'm going to read that back on the record, just so you know, for you too, my friend.
That was a pickleball question.
Someone walked into that.
No, but maybe this needs to be tabled because it doesn't look like it's been fleshed out.
Mark, if we table this, are we going to be back to a 10-person quorum
Yes.
for the board? Then
Yeah, because you don't have.
Mayor, can we just adopt?
I was just suggesting because there's a lot of discussion, it's getting late, but
It's
we can
okay.
keep going.
We're good.
if needed.
Well, can we recommend this? Can we adopt it as is, send it back to the board to consider now that we only need 5 for a quorum and then work with that?
Yes.
Because otherwise, if we don't approve this, we're going to be back to a 10-person quorum requirement, and we're not going to be able to meet.
We have a meeting in 2 weeks.
Yes, we can do that.
Well, there was some more changes I wanted to, Butler. On the regular meetings, it says regular meetings of the Board of Directors on section 3.04. Regular meetings of the Board of Directors shall be held at a time and place determined by the board. At least one meeting shall be held every other month. That, I want to go down to what Mike likes to call Reenie's rule. It would have to be after 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m.?
After 5 p.m.
Which page is that?
It's on second page, point 3.04.
Okay. After 5.
After 5 p.m., because I see if they get public money, the public should have a right to be able to see them at a reasonable time, and most people will be off by 5 p.m. And then the other suggestion I would make would be on section 3.05, where it says, this person or persons authorized to call special meetings of the board may fix any place either within or outside of the state of Texas. I would change that to Harlingen. And then any place, I don't like the instance of any place because I could be like at someone's home or business, which is private property. If this is public place, like a public location that's owned by the city. So that way it always has access.
You know, I mean, companies have done this before.
Yeah.
We're having a board meeting in Hawaii.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, we don't want that. Exactly. So I would say in Harlingen and also
Yes,
any public.
Harlingen's big enough.
Just a public building.
Public building.
A city public,
Yes,
though.
city public
They do them
building.
here, they do them at the
Yeah.
Lansing Hill, the library. And
Yeah, any of those places, as long as it's a public building.
What I would recommend Mayor, on how we proceed forward is we vote to approve the bylaws in general, just one, and then we would vote to then go by each of Commissioner Bettis's points. It's like, I'm not going to, just so you know, I'm not going to support the after 5 p.m. rule. But I think everything else you said, I'm fine with, right?
I'm in favor of tabling this until it could be all redone. Yeah, I'll make a motion to table this. Because this needs to be massaged.
Yeah, before we go into that, I agree with that, but the thing is, I want them to meet because they've been waiting too long not to meet, and I think we
We've
need
already
to
had
get.
one meeting where they approved all the changes.
Yeah.
But if we don't approve this, we're going to.
That's what I'm afraid of, because that
We're not gonna be able
defeats
to
the whole
meet.
purpose of what we did.
Another 2 weeks won't
We haven't,
matter.
because we haven't been able to get a quorum. We had 3 tries to get a quorum. And if we don't approve this, we're maybe another 3 tries again before we get a quorum. So,
Again, this is just separate. My opinion is that we work it out right now while we can, while we're here.
I agree with Commissioner Bettis. Let's just knock it out now.
All right, okay. Well,
So is there a second to my table?
no second,
Motion
dies. Are you still dancing? Okay, so
Mark,
why
did you
why
send-
don't we go back to the first? and take it
Sorry.
step by step.
Mark, the ones I sent you this morning, or this,
Those should be in the handout. I think the city secretary
Yeah.
handed out.
Okay.
But those should be the ones that were out, yeah.
okay.
Let's let Commissioner Pettis go down his list, and then we can go to yours, and then the boards.
They're already here, yeah, so we're good.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah, actually, those were the two main ones that I had, the three main ones that I had.
So so are you still,
Well, I don't know, what are we gonna do about it? I still don't have any clarification. What are we gonna do about it? So we're not gonna do
okay.
anything about
So
it?
3.0304 and .05, okay.
I'm fine, I threw it out there because I was hoping, again, I'm not saying that they would forbid anybody from showing up or anything like that, but I just like having safeguards in the, just in case. But if you guys are not comfortable with the ex officio members, that's fine. But I do think that we do need the after 5 PM and the public building and in Harlingen.
Well,
Okay.
let's go to the members.
3.03, let's do that.
Who is the author of this document?
Mark?
I did it according to the suggestions of the.
They had a board meeting.
It was a board meeting, and, yeah.
And so the board include all of the people that were present at that
It was the Keep
meeting,
Harlingen Beautiful Board.
right, gave you these suggestions, and then you put
Correct.
them in paper. All right.
I had one question. There's no term limits or anything like that on boards on this one? 'Cause I was
I don't
looking,
recall seeing anything in there about term limits.
would you guys be interested in putting?
There
any type-
wasn't in the old days, no.
No? Would you guys be interested in putting some type of term limits on, like, maybe, again, the whole point, again, I'm much in favor of term limits, as you guys are aware, because it gives opportunities for more people to participate in these activities. And I know we're making a big push for public engagement. And if it's too easy when you have one person on the board, and then you're just, I'll just reappoint them, I'll reappoint them. And it doesn't really push you to go find somebody else. And that's what we want. We want more people to be engaged in the things that are happening here in the city. And I think on this board, which is going to be a great, fantastic board, I think there's a lot of people here in Harlingen that would be excited to be part of this board and, do what they can to make Harlingen beautiful.
But,
My experience was, it was never a problem. It was always a turnover. But I agree, I'm all for term limits.
Okay, so let's, if you don't mind,
Because
we'll
again,
skip.
that's how you're writing all of the boards, right?
Correct. Let's go by order, and we'll add term limits to the last one.
Okay.
All right, so ex officio, where are we at on that one? Mark, do you
Mark,
feel
legally,
comfortable?
can we do that or not? or-
I would ask that you guys not do that
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
Because that's going to imply a lot of other changes that we have to look at.
I'm fine with that.
Perfect, all right, so no ex officio. What was the next one?
So it says representative, what does that mean?
Just like what you said, Mayor, like a liaison, that's what we call them at the county, right? So like a liaison from the commission can be appointed as an ex officio member for the Keep Harlingen Beautiful Board.
So it reads, a representative of the mayor, comma, the city commissioners, comma, the city manager, comma. It doesn't read right. So it's a representative of all of these people?
It's up to you.
No, I think the way it is each one gets a representative.
That's what it looks like.
That's the way I'm reading it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is an awkward sentence.
So it really is, I don't like the way it's worded, but so somebody would represent the mayor, someone would represent the commission, and these are not board members, these are liaisons.
Yeah, ex officio members, correct.
Okay.
And those people would be like what? People we choose, or would it be a fellow commissioner, or what would it be?
However you would want to do it, because so the mayor gets her own pick. She can pick whoever she wants. The commissioners could get their own pick. We can make it a commissioner, we can make it.
But it would be in addition to the board members that I already have.
That's what I'm worried
You're
about,
gonna
because
be
you already have
ex
two
officio.
commissioners on there, and so we choose another commissioner, that right there is a quorum.
Well, you don't have to, but that's why I'm reading it like the way, I don't know, I'm giving it the literal meaning, and it is saying that the mayor, I would appoint somebody to represent the mayor, say that's, I don't know, Melinda.
And some of this language
And then
came
the
from the
commission-
existing bylaws
Sure.
that were here before, okay?
So the commission could say, Javier is going to be, it doesn't necessarily need to be a commissioner, but you can have a commissioner, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then each of the other, which makes sense. And then the city manager, I guess you would one of the assistants.
Well, I would represent myself.
And then the Chamber of Commerce.
And we've reached out to these entities, right, that they do want to be a part of it, I'm assuming?
I have not.
Not
Well-
in this rendition. Initially, I think they may have, but that was, I don't know, maybe
For-
10.
Yeah, these are from the original,
Oh, so they were, so for the
this is the way it was
HCISD
before.
and the chamber were part of the,
I mean, I think they were in the bylaws, but they never.
they never showed up?
Yeah, they're on the EDC too. I know no shop. The same, right? Like the HCISD and the Chamber?
I would have to.
Oh, not the Chamber, but
would be-
HCISD is for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to look. Okay.
Okay, so you're going to leave it that way? Or what's the consensus?
It seems like a bit of an overkill.
I'm down for whatever's legal.
Mark?
I told you what I think. I reduced the number. I think, you know, you're trying to get a lot of involvement, but the problem is, as a practical matter, if people aren't showing up for the meetings, you've got a non-functioning board because not enough people are showing up. So despite all the good intentions to have input from a wide section of the community, it's not working. So, I mean, either people show up or you guys need to reduce the number of board members so you can function. I mean, you can't just be in a state of paralysis on this.
I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, the CDBG has 2 board members. We would all get 2 picks. Yeah, because I think from what I'm seeing from our boards, this is the only committee that has 3 board members, and that's why we have so many.
Here, what we're doing is we're mixing things up. We're looking at 3.03.
Yes.
Let's
Okay.
stick on point.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
so 3.03. We're gonna leave it alone.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, what was the next one you had?
after 5 PM.
And where was that?
That's
one?
on 3.04.
Next.
3.04, okay. There was something that wasn't, should be held.
Yeah, it shall be every other month.
Correct,
Right, that should be in the amended one that you got.
I
correct.
got it.
Yeah.
So regular meetings of the Board of Directors shall be held at a time and place determined by the board. At least one meeting shall be held every other month. And so you're proposing, Rini, that the regular meetings of the board shall be held after 5 PM.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason I do that, again, because I'm a big proponent of having access to our working residents of Harlingen, and the majority of people, or a large number of people here in Harlingen work from 8 to 4, 8 to 5, and if they schedule meetings at noon, or if they schedule meetings in the morning, they probably would attend. Plus, you know, public should have access if it's being used, if public money is being used.
Okay. And I know that you already expressed how you felt, so we know we got that, and now let's just move on to the next one, and there can be appropriate motion, I think.
That's what I'm saying, we just vote on it now so that we just keep moving through it.
Oh, you want to vote on each one?
Yeah, so the last one didn't
Is
have any
that,
support.
is that okay?
Sure you can.
Okay, all right, then so then
I would just ask that you also impose those location requirements. You talked about
Yeah.
a public building in the city of Harlingen after 5
I
PM.
didn't know we were doing that.
Okay, so I make a motion.
So hold on,
Oh.
let's go back to 3.03. You all agreed? Can you somebody give a motion for that one?
There was no change.
Oh, it's
There's no change.
that's why we didn't do it. All right, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I make a motion to include the regular meetings of the Board of Directors shall be held after 5 PM. And at least one meeting shall be held every other month.
I second that.
And in a public place?
And put it all together?
That would be the
In the
next
city of
one.
Harlingen.
no?
In a public building, in a public building in the
Oh,
city of
yes.
Harlingen.
Yes, okay. So we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Commissioner Morales. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, and then, so that carries. Next, go on to 3.05, which is going to be the same language as 3.04 about the public buildings and striking the
Any place.
any place within or outside the state of Texas. That's interesting. Did you ever do any of those, Ford?
I don't remember that being in the bylaw.
Vegas meeting, baby.
Yeah. We
Okay,
never did anything other than at the recycle center.
fun times. Okay, so is there a motion for that?
So I make a motion to delete, or just to copy the same guidelines of regular meetings?
Yeah, just look at it.
Okay. And so then, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay.
Opposed.
To the places?
No, well, if we're doing the 5 PM, right?
No, that, we're not on that. We're on the
No, no,
next one.
but the special meetings, if we're copying and pasting the language from 3.04.
Oh, got
to
it,
5
got it,
PM,
got it,
that's-
got it.
That's
Okay.
the only thing I'm opposing is the 5 PM.
Okay.
Everything else I agree with.
Understood, but it's, I still
Correct.
have it. All right.
I still have it,
Okay. And so anything else?
Where's the section with the, I saw it. Oh, I guess it would be on page 5. Or I'm not sure. I think that's the place where it says elections and term of offices.
4.02?
Yeah,
Top of page
4.02.
All right. So you want term
So-
limits?
Yes, term limits. I mean, we could expand it. I mean, it only says 1 year. So, I mean, we could expand it to like, say, 3 years, like we do with some of the other boards.
You know what, I think what this is,
If that's the section, I'm not sure if that's the section.
yeah, because that has to do with officers and of executive committee. So that's the term limits for them. So what we're looking at.
What number? Sorry.
They were looking at 4.02, but I think that's not the right one.
So what you should look at is 3.02, which is on page 1. That's the appropriate one.
Okay, member directors shall be appointed by the city commission for 3-year terms.
tenure and
So shall be
Yeah.
concurrent with term limits, sir.
Right.
Okay.
Which,
Yeah, term
where we
limits.
needed to go anyway, right? Because you're going to change this?
Yeah, so it's on 3.02, just add term limits to it.
Well, it says number of directors of the corporation shall be 18. You're going to leave it that way?
121 or?
No, I would prefer 10. The less, the better. You'll have a
435, like members of Congress. We just
Oh, my
Yeah, and pay them 400,000, they'll show up.
Because I thought that was the whole purpose of this meeting, was to do.
This is, the way we talked about it there is we would leave the 18 board members, but you'd drop quorum down to 5, right? Which is allowable under TOMA and allowable under, Mark and I had a discussion, he found a couple other places that it's allowable. What he's just saying is that it's not typical, which is correct, right? And so if you guys wanted to reduce the number of directors, you're correct, this is where it'd be done. But
I just think it's a lot. I mean, look how difficult it has been.
I understand that, but the quorum issues, because we dropped quorum to 5, therefore you bypass that whole issue.
I know, but why do you want to have a board full of people that aren't showing up?
That's a different issue, right? And that's why we put the language about automatically being removed if they're not showing up.
All right.
So Ford, what do you think? You think
Just
we
my
should lower it?
Again, 18's crazy.
Okay, so what, two picks like the CDBG?
Two each would be
Solve
more
the
than-
problem, you know. I think just solve the problem by fixing the number of directors, something reasonable.
Two apiece.
12? So 12, so it'd be 2 each, and then 2 for the mayor. Or we can just give her, does she really need picks? I don't know, what do you think?
I might as well not have a voice anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter.
You know, if we're going to do what we've talked about, which is maintaining.
I've got a liaison
the-
that can't vote.
The, what's it called? Conformity, then it would be 7, right? Mayor gets 2, everyone else gets 1.
I highly suggest that you just be uniform in all of the boards, and you already have, and I know it's awful because there's been people that were appointed and they may have to come off of the board because of that. But that's why you guys have been working on this for such a long time, to put everything together on this omnibus ordinance, so that way you're aligning everything. And so having one board with so many members seems a little too much. If you want to do something that's not the 7, then I think your suggestion of what we're doing
2.
with the other board, with the CBDC,
DBG.
CBDG.
But we each get a representative too that could be one of those people, right?
Well,
We all
you
get
don't-
one.
The commission as
get
a
one.
whole
Oh,
gets
correct.
one.
That's what we
Yeah.
found, we as a group.
Which, right, so, but if you want,
then,
at
yeah,
least you're
7.
you're
That's what
following
we're
something
doing.
that's
Let's go.
already set on another board, you don't have just some other,
Yeah, I would agree with the 2, because like Norma said, we already have a board that already does that. Plus, at the same time, we want to get as many people as possible without it being crazy,
I
like
agree.
18.
But if we're going to 7 for all the boards, let's go to 7.
That would be my suggestion, but if you want more, I'm just
That's
giving you
that's
options.
my recommendation as well, go to 7 with a quorum of 5.
Mm-hmm. And I think I have two. I think mine are Nick and Brianna, and I believe that they attended the meeting.
And they're the president and vice president.
So that would be my two, so they'd stay there. And so then everybody else has more than one? I don't know, I
say 2.
I have 3 if I count myself,
Mhm.
which I don't need. I mean, I've got 2 that showed up,
Right.
and 1 that just resigned.
So, I mean.
KISS works very well in life. Keep it simple,
You said something
stupid.
earlier, too, that you could potentially start this way, and then maybe
shave
you
it
can,
down.
maybe, when we did the airport board, after the proposition passed, and then we got it, on there said, this is what we're doing because this has been adopted, right? So you're place 1, 2, 3, and then the number has shrinked, and so 1 had to be removed off of the board, not removed from a commissioner, and so we took those steps. So could we just say the people that are currently serving on the board right now will remain on the board? However, once their period lapses, then it will go to a board of 7.
Sure.
Can we do that?
Sure.
So then everybody stays on the
Natural
board.
attrition will get us.
Correct.
Yes.
Which
Is
is,
that
which
good?
is why I'll make a motion to table this so we don't stay till midnight arguing the fun.
Nobody second the motion, Mike.
Okay. Because right at the end, we're literally, I think this is our last one.
Right, so I think that solves all the issues, and
Yeah.
then it brings us to a point where, in the future, nobody's having these issues, right?
Correct, so Mark, you got it, so we stay at the 18, and then with the 5 quorum, and then once the first people roll off, then they're done, we go down to, after the second people roll off, then we're down to 7.
So basically, they're grandfathered in for.
And we don't have to fill vacancies.
Correct.
Correct.
Right. And no vacancies will be, oh, that's an even better point, I like that. Yeah,
I like it,
yeah, all right.
And then how about the term limits?
whatever you want. I mean,
What do you guys think?
Whatever y'all.
You know, when the CDGB were here and they pointed to the 2 people and said, that's a combined 50 years.
Well, that was, one lady was just like.
Yes, 50
Well,
years.
you know,
So
I would want-
continuity is a wonderful thing.
Well, here, let's just do this first. All right, so we're all good on the
Can I ask you
dwindling.
something first, though?
Yeah.
If the commissioners have term limits, then don't the members have term limits?
Exactly, I mean, they run concurrent, right? Well, they're most of them read.
No, because technically I could just appoint, like if I take Reni's spot for some, for a reason, right? I'll just leave Reni's appointment on and that'll be fine.
He's moving to your district, you better watch out. He's coming for you.
Hey, you have the best commissioner, so it's all good.
That's what, I did with Frank
A hard
Puente,
citizen
right?
to
Like
deal with.
Puente had some appointments and I just reappointed his appointments.
Right, and I did the same, yeah.
I think term limits are important. Like I said earlier, I think we want to engage as many people as possible. And I mean, it's great that some people serve on boards for 40, 50 years, and that's great, and they do a tremendous amount of work. But I think at the same time, we're trying to encourage community engagement.
Diversify?
Huh?
Diversify?
Yeah, diversify. We need that. So I would strongly suggest we get term limits. I mean, it could be something simple, like maybe 6, they get 3-year terms, 2 years, 6 years. You can do a lot of stuff in 2 years, and then after that, leave it to somebody else. Let someone else come in. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a lifetime term.
So what's the term limits for us on 3?
12 years.
12.
4 3-year terms.
So question on your,
Omnibus?
yeah, you're working on it and you are working on it, the 2 of you?
Well,
Or
and
the 3
we
of
just
you?
tagged in these
Okay.
two, so.
Well, is there language in there for term limits for all boards?
No, we haven't looked at that yet, but I imagined
Okay.
my colleague.
Especially
Okay.
after this conversation.
Well, I'm
From
just.
the West.
Well, I'm just saying again, right? You're saying to be
Correct,
uniform.
correct.
That just, yeah, okay. Either way, I think that there's pros and cons to both. I think there's a lot of value in having historical knowledge of someone that's been on the board for such a long time, and to be able to, just
See,
provide that information.
the advantage KHB had in Harlingen and Brown, they had an executive director.
Mhm.
So that person performed that. They had the historical
makes more
knowledge
sense.
and so on. So
Right.
Something,
Do you want to make a motion to get through this?
oh, something they do. just
Are you
real quick.
gonna stick around, Commissioner? I think we're gonna vote on this. Let's just do this so that way we can move on. Okay, we have a motion, right?
Make a motion to initiate term limits on the Keep Harlingen Board. Beautiful, the amount of
With the commissioner?
2 3-year terms, 6 years.
Okay, so 2 6-year, 2.
3-year terms, 2 3-year terms, total of 6 years.
And then you're going to also allow the members to come
Yes,
off?
they can, yeah, they can come out. It's not a lifetime term limit.
Okay, but I meant going from 18 to 7.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Through natural attrition.
Right. Do you want to give a number, or do you want to say that it goes along with the term of the commissioner that appoints? Do you want to say 3 years, or do you want to say the term, 2 terms?
2 3-year terms.
Okay.
So that way, every commissioner would have to appoint maybe 2 people.
I
If they
know.
serve the full time, they only appoint 2 people. Good. That's engaging.
So in the future, if there were longer terms for commissioners, then you would have 3 years, and you'd have potentially.
So 2 terms, you don't want to put a number, just 2 terms?
I'm just saying, if that's something that that will be entertained, you won't have to come back and.
Okay, so 2 terms, 2, I'm not the lawyer here, come on. Lawyers.
They serve along with the commissioner for 2 terms.
Okay.
2 terms consecutive with the appointed commissioner.
There we go.
Because that's what you're trying to accomplish,
Yes.
right? Okay.
2 consecutive terms along with the commissioner.
Okay. So that's your motion, and is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oppose.
Motion carries, right, Commissioner Morales?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I can't hear you today. All right. And so is that the last one?
Yes, now we not need to vote to approve everything,
Remainder?
the remainder, everything else that was in red that we discussed by the board. Does anyone else?
The remainder.
Second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries. The remainder?
And that is just a sneak peek of our charter review.
That's why we need to have a special meeting.
So everyone wear comfortable shoes, right? Sweatpants, jackets, right? Popcorn.
All right, okay.
A lot of snacks on that one.
I really should have moved things around. My apologies. Okay. All right, moving on.
Okay, item 10H, consideration and possible action to approve a resolution suspending the July 12, 2024 effective date of the proposal by Texas Gas Service Company, a division of One Gas Inc., Rio Grande Valley Service Area, to implement interim GRIP rate adjustments for gas utility investment in 2023 and requiring delivery of this resolution to the company and legal counsel. City Manager.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 10I, consideration and possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading amending Chapter 36 of the Harlingen Code of Ordinances, establishing prohibited activities in the city parks and recreation.
Motion to approve?
I'm sorry, that's an ordinance that was listed
Yeah,
in
we
the
need
wrong
a-
place. We need to read the caption.
Yes.
I'll read it. An ordinance amending Chapter 36, Parks and Recreation, Article 5, Public Conduct and the Use of Parks and Recreational Facilities, Division 1 generally, amending Section 36-106 Park Rules and Policies by adding prohibited activities in city parks and facilities and providing for a penalty of a fine not to exceed the sum of $200 for each offense, and providing for an effective date, providing for publication of this ordinance, and ordaining other matters relating to the foregoing.
Javier, for the benefit of the public, do you want to tell them what they can't do?
Sure. So number 1 is ride or drive any motorcycle, automobile, or any other motorized vehicle upon any sidewalk, hiking or jogging trail within the park. And so there is language in the existing ordinance that talks about allowing law enforcement or emergency vehicles. And so we wanted to kind of clean that up. The second one is allowing, restricting somebody from playing golf or practicing golf in the city parks, driving golf balls and so on. The third one is swim, bathe, wade in, or pollute the water of any pond, lake, or stream. We have signage throughout the city in our lakes or ponds that we have in the parks, but there was no ordinance restricting that. The fourth one is to camp overnight in the city park. Fifth one is to sell or offer for sale any food, drinks, unless they have a permit issued by the city. And then the sixth one is to solicit any trade, occupation, business, or profession without a proper permit in the park. And then allowing organized groups to play in the parks. They should be using the facilities that they were designed for, such as baseball, football, and so on. And of course, the last one is the enforcement part, which references the fine up to $200.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For Thanksgiving or Christmas or any other particular holiday, is it permissible for a group to go out there and get food
Not
to
without,
homeless or anybody?
right, not without a permit. So the health department would require them to have a permit. There are certain restrictions that they would have to meet.
Like?
I don't know.
Don't you have that already?
Yeah, like, so you have to use gloves to serve.
Yeah.
You got to make sure food's kept at a certain temperature. So,
Yeah.
you know, all the.
It's already on the book.
But once you take a microbiology class, it changes your life forever.
Have you had a fantastic job on this one?
Thank
Great
you.
job. Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10J, consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to approve a lease agreement with Yamaha Carts and Vantage Tag Systems to lease 74 golf carts and a utility range cart to be used at the Tony Butler Golf Course fiscal year 2024-2025 golf.
We brought this back because there was a mistake in the trade-in value that they gave us initially. It was $271,000 that they had quoted, but the actual amount should have been $208,000, which is comparable to the other two. So we just wanted to let you know that before we actually made the purchase.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so patient. All right.
Moving on to item 11, board appointments, specifically appointment or discussion and possible action to include appointment and/or removal of any position, subject to appointment or removal by statute, ordinance, or bylaws.
All right. Quick.
Here we go.
The key problems are beautiful. Being able to swap people out doesn't apply till after this vote, okay? I'm going to take myself out and put Rainey in for that spot on the key problems are beautiful.
Okay. All right. Do you have any?
I have two. I have the Harlingen Community Improvement Board, Julie Fonseca to replace Mike Gonzalez. And for Planning and Zoning, Vanessa Cantu to replace Adele Clinton.
Who's that?
Planning and Zoning.
Who did you replace her with?
Pardon?
Who is the appointment?
Vanessa Cantu.
Vanessa Kent. I really like the other lady. She's moving on.
No, she's just her work at TSTC, too much travel and coordination of making the meeting, so.
Well, I've heard a lot of positive things. Just so you
Oh,
did-
Adele
you
is
did
awesome. She
excellent.
was, Keep Arms Are Beautiful with me for years, and
Yeah.
she worked on my campaign. Great lady.
I'm sure this next one will be just, is it Realtor? Is that, yeah, okay.
I saw her run a rowdy Parks and Rec meeting, Adele. She was fantastic.
Well, I think I heard this, maybe, I guess.
It's probably
feedback
from me,
on-
because I was
on
like
that.
bragging on her, because like, she is fantastic.
She's hard woodpecker lips.
What?
Woodpecker lips are hard, man.
Oh, hard.
I don't have any appointments. How about you? Do you have a woman you're going to appoint?
My wife only lets me have one.
All right. Commissioner?
No, none.
None.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that is how the sausage is made.
Wait.
Alrighty, item 12, executive session. All items listed in this section will be deliberated in a closed session. Members of the public are not generally permitted to attend a closed session. Executive session items may be considered as an action item at the discretion of the mayor. However, City Commission will not take any action in closed session. Item 12A, pursuant to Government Code Section 551.071, attorney consultation and contemplated litigation, Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real estate, and Section 551.087, economic development relating to the following projects: A1, Project Breeze; A2, Project Scale, Harlingen Economic Development.
Motion to enter executive session.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The time is now 7:36 PM. We will retire to executive session and be out shortly. Thank you. All right. The time is 7:59 PM. We are out of executive session. Melinda?
13, action on executive sessions items. The City Commission will reconvene in open session and may take action on any item listed in the executive session section of this agenda. 13A, consideration and possible action to approve items 12A, 1 and 2 as discussed in executive session.
Make a motion to proceed as discussed.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.